Well, hello, everybody. It is certainly a blessing again to be with you today. You know, every day that we are alive, we are blessed. I think that somewhere in the scripture it says, "This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it." And I'm certainly thankful today that I've been blessed with another day, and I know that you are as well. We want to always welcome you to the God's Love Bank Live Facebook show. This is a show that is teaching you how to grow spiritually out of your old self into your new self and then into your new self purpose. And I can't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, how important your spiritual growth is, especially during this time in our lives. At this time in the saga of the human race, we are living in the last days of the last times, the latter times of the last days. And certainly it is important during these times to understand how to grow out of the old self into the new self. And so we are always thankful that you are attending and paying attention to the lessons that we're learning about God's Love Bank. Kevin Edmondson, good to see you. Catherine Goddard, it's good to see you. Carolyn Martin, always good to see all of you. I was just saying how important these days are now, especially with things happening globally. Look at what's happening with climate warming. Look at what's happening when it comes to wars and rumors of wars. Look at what's happening when it comes to hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and tsunamis. And look at what's happening all over our world, all over the globe. Look at what's happening with different governments. Look at the dictatorships that's taking place all over the world. We're living in the last times of the last days. And Paul said, evil men and seducers will wax worse and worse. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of doing whatever you can to learn what your purpose is on this earth, because this is one of the most important times to know what your purpose is. One of the most tragic things that can ever happen to a human being is to live and die and never discover why he was born. Let me say that again. One of the most tragic things that can happen to a person on this earth is to live and then die and never discover why they were given birth. It is so important for us to understand that we were given a special, unique gift at the beginning of our birth order. And that gift helps us to learn and discover what our purpose is. So I just want to begin while we see people coming on. Good to see you, Jerry. Good to see you, Nathaniel, or Nate Davis, one of my good friends. It is always good to have fellowship with each other. And I'm hoping that you all are fellowshipping with each other with your comments. So let me rehearse again. We are living in one of the most difficult times in the existence of the earth realm. The whole globe of the earth is in turmoil. As I mentioned to you, we are living in the last days, the latter times of the last days. We can see this the way things is happening globally. We can see what's happening to us when it comes to climate warming, when it comes to earthquakes, when it comes to the various types of things that's happening. There's wars and rumors of wars. Jesus told us these are the times when we will find things getting closer to the last days. And so when we talk about the significance of purpose, it is important for you to know that this is probably one of the most important times to know what your purpose is, to get in it and to fulfill it. And so I just want to continue to encourage you to keep on learning what you can about your old self so you can grow out of your old self into your new self. And then you can develop and grow into new self purpose, which ultimately leads to your destiny. Now, I want to encourage everybody who have not had a chance to learn what your old self love is. You can learn what your old self love home base is in approximately 3 to 5 minutes. You can go to my website, oldselfnewself.com, or godslovebank.com, and you can take that assessment. It is not a test. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse number 5, examine yourself, whether you be in the faith. Know your own self, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except you be a reprobate. Now, that's not some kind of an animal like a crocodile, or that is really when a person has Jesus Christ and the opportunity to live in Christ, and they despise it because they did not get a chance to learn who they were, who they are. That's why it says, know yourself, prove yourself, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except you be a reprobate. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is so good to see you on the show today. And we have enough people on the show now that I'm going to get started. And I want to say to Johnny Talton, it is always a blessing. I've been watching you coming on the show every day almost, and I appreciate you so much. This is the mother of Karen Wilkerson, one of our elders' wives, who has gone to be with Jesus. So what I was saying is, one of the most tragic things in life for any person or any human being is to live and die and never know why you were born. One of the most tragic things that can happen to a person is to be alive and don't even know why you exist. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, to understand how important it is to discover what your purpose is on this earth, especially during this time. So I want to back up, and I'm going to kind of slow some things down, because I want to talk to you really about a subject that covers new self-purpose, but I'm going to go back to my tools of thinking. And one of the tools of thinking for this whole notion of discovering God's purpose in your life is called God's Purpose Toolbox. Now, the reason I entitled this God's Purpose Toolbox is because there are 5 different tools in this toolbox that's significant in helping you to understand what your purpose is. It is also significant for me to slow down. And the reason for that is because, it took me 35 years to write all of this information. I have so much information, and the content is so rich. It's included in all of my books that I have to take my time, and the idea genius, my daughter, who's training me in this social media approach and social media presentations, is telling me to slow it down, and I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is what we do with the God's Love Bank program. You see, God's Love Bank is a framework of thinking, because if a person don't know how to think, they do not know how to live. As a man think, so is he. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7. And then in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23, it says, guard your heart for all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So it's important then for us to understand that God's Love Bank is a framework of thinking, number one. Then it's a program for living. And when we talk about the program for living, the way things are set up with the God's Love Bank program for living, we have a curriculum also that churches, when they use it properly, will help people to change in their souls over a period of time. Now, let me clarify something. Your spirit can change instantly. John chapter 3, verse number 5. That which is born of spirit is spirit. Your soul changes progressively. Peter said, seeing you are purifying your soul by obeying the truth. So what we have to understand then is that our soul is being purified every time we obey the truth. And it's important then for us to understand that we are changing instantly in our spirit, progressively in our soul, and ultimately in our body. Romans chapter 8, verse 23 says the body groaneth. And while it's on this earth, waiting for the redemption of the body. There's a point where the body is going to be changed. We're going to be changed in a twinkling of an eye. In a moment, we will be changed. And when that time happens, this old earthly house will be dissolved and we'll have a new house, not made with hands. And that's what Paul was saying when he was talking about that over in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 1 through 6 and following. So in this tool of thinking called purpose, God's purpose toolbox, there are 5 tools of thinking that I'm going to be talking to you about, but I'm going to raise some questions because I want to say something to you today that is going to be bold. Look at the bottom of the screen. You see it? God's purpose toolbox. But I'm going to say something to you that's going to be bold. If you stay with me during the next week, I'm going to help you know what your purpose is for sure. And I'm going to guarantee that you know it if you will do the work, if you'll spend the time and follow the exercises that I'm going to be giving you. I'm going to also suggest to you that take some time and invest in the bank of your soul. I recommend that you get a copy of all of my books. Use it as a library. So when I'm referring to these different tools and when I'm referring to these different core values, you can relate to them and read on your own in the privacy of your home. So let me begin by asking you some questions. Now, how many people do you know go to school for 4 years, 8 years, and they focus on a career? And then when they accomplish their degree, or when they accomplish their goal, they get to the end of their journey and they say, wow, is this all there is to it? Research indicates that a large number, millions of people go to school, get college degrees, go to school and get occupations. Some of them go to school and become doctors. I have known some of my colleagues who are doctors and got to the end of the line after spending all the time and the money and the energy and the effort to get their doctor's degree and discover that they hate what they're doing, or they don't like what they're doing, or they're not happy with what they're doing. And the reason is they did not discover their purpose before they sought their degrees. Discovering your purpose is very important. And that's why Jesus said you need to sit down and count the cost. So let me begin to ask you some questions. Now I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm going to cover these tools of thinking as we go along. And then I'm going to be raising some questions for you to think about as we go along. Start with this. What is this COVID-19 pandemic teaching you? Now just think about that. I have concluded that God is allowing this. He's permitting this for a number of reasons. Number one, he's permitting it. He didn't do it just to hurt us. He is permitting it because of the way that we've handled ourselves on the globe. He's permitting it. He's allowing it. Sometimes God allows crisis to happen so he can get our attention. Sometimes God allows crisis to happen so that he can help us to realize that we need him. We need his help. Sometimes God allows crisis to happen so that he can help us to realize how we need to be reconciled back to him. So you have to ask yourself, what is this COVID-19 pandemic teaching you? And ladies and gentlemen, listen, this thing is going on longer than many of us thought it would go. As a matter of fact, it perhaps may go on much longer than we actually think. I mean, I won't go into details about that, but you know what? What is this COVID-19 pandemic teaching you? What are you learning about yourself from this pandemic? What are you learning from the time that you are sequestered in your house because of social distancing? Do you believe for a moment that this is not a time for us to learn about purpose? That's why the core value, new self-purpose, the purpose God had in mind when he created me for his good, which gives me the capacity to find purpose and good in everything in life, including my problems, knowing that all things work together for good for them who love God and are called according to his purpose. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a purpose for this pandemic. What purpose have you assigned to this pandemic? While you at home, while you are sequestered, while you are spending time with your family or it alone, what are you doing to discover God's purpose for your life? This is a great time to discover God's purpose for your life. You have to ask questions like this. Why was I born? Why are you on earth? Why are you still alive? It just blows my mind. Some people, when they get older, they start saying, well, I'm just old and all worn out. And they begin to talk like they're already dead. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you are alive because God has a purpose for you. And your job is to find out what that purpose is while you are on earth. Why are you alive? Ask yourself that question. Why do you exist? During this time of this pandemic, this is a great time. This is a great opportunity to discover your purpose. And what I'm saying to you, if you stay with me during the whole next week, I'm going to help you to discover your purpose for the first time so you can be sure. And it doesn't matter how much you have. You have to ask yourself a question. This is a time to explore. It's a time of exploration. It's a time to explore why you are alive and why you were born and why you exist. My beloved Father, whom I love with all of my heart, he lived and died and never discovered his purpose. But he is like millions of other people. Somebody said that one of the wealthiest places on earth is the graveyard because people have died with their songs in their hearts and the books in their hearts and the purpose that God had given them. And they never found out what it was. We have a great opportunity now during this pandemic to learn what our purpose is. And I am going to pay all the expenses if you just come along for the ride. I'll be the conductor and I'll be in the engine. You just get on the caboose and just go along for the ride. And if you will do the work and do what I'm going to be suggesting to you, I'm going to say to you, you will learn what your purpose is and it will bless your entire life. Now, let me go back to some of these questions. Okay. What more can you get from all of your relationships with your soulmate, with your children, with your friends, with your grandkids? See, all of this is part of God's purpose. Now, a lot of times we think God's purpose has to do with how I matriculate on the academic ladder of success, or how I get promotions on my job, or how I do things and I excelled and I become a Michael Jordan. Listen, you can be all of that and still not understand what your purpose is and why God created you and gave you life. So most importantly, you have to ask yourself, what can you get from the relationships from your soulmate? You know how many people are alive, living together, and they really are not really close? They are companions. They live together, but how close can you be with another person? The Bible says Jonathan and David's soul was knitted together. If you know anything about knitting, it was knitted together. How close are you in your relationship with the people that you say that you love? With your children, with your grandchildren, with your friends? How many of you have friends that really are genuine friends that's lasting for a lifetime? Why not take this time to enhance and develop your purpose with your friends and your family and your loved ones and your soulmate? Most importantly, this pandemic is a great time really to get to know yourself. You know how many people don't know who they are? Do you know what the new self does? The new self teaches you who you are. And when you understand who you are, then you can begin to understand others better. You must seek first to understand yourself and then understand others. And when you do so, you'll have a closer relationship with them. But you got to have a close relationship with yourself. This is all part of God's purpose for your life. Now, let me go further and just ask some more questions to you. Okay. Do you really know yourself? Who are you really? I mean, we learn about our old self and our new self, but when you learn that your old self is your false self, that's enough to say, wait a minute now, I've been living many years in my old self. Okay, what is my new self all about? What part of you makes you happy? What is really important to you? Have you gone through life and settled? You settle for less than God's blessed, and then claim that you're blessed, and then think God is going to bless your mess? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to be serious here. I'm trying to impress upon you. This is a great time for you to spend some time with yourself, getting to know who you are. Are you happy with yourself? If not, are you willing to change? See, a lot of us think that just because we are still alive, especially when we've gotten older, we think that we can't change. And we'll say things like, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. The bottom line is, are you happy? What does it take to make you happy? I want to suggest to you that in the different old self, or rather new self-love home base, there are certain things that makes you happier than any other thing. So what do you need to change in your life? We're talking about purpose here now. Is your life all about self-improvement? For example, more education, more money, a better job, a better career, a promotion? Is it about teaching and preaching others? I know a lot of preachers who have concluded that their life, who they really are, is really about teaching and preaching to others. Okay, that's fine, but that don't necessarily mean that you're fulfilling the purpose for your life, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're happy. After all, there are many preachers who are struggling, but you would never know it, and many elders and many leaders and many teachers. You have to spend some time focusing on who you really are, not just the external things like titles and toys and achievements. You know, some of us, we got to buy a house and 2 houses and 3 houses and a sport car, and we got to have tools, and we got to play golf, and all of that stuff is good. But if you have not learned to love you, and if you don't know you, and if you have not learned what your purpose is that really what you want to be all about? What really makes you happy? That's the point I'm trying to get at. What really makes each of us happy? And I want to suggest to you before I close this presentation, there are certain things in each one of our new self home bases that gives you a clue on what makes you happy. But until then, let me now take us a step further. Okay, what I want us to do now is I want to show you some of the things that's important for you to understand this tool of thinking that goes with new self-purpose, the core value of new self-purpose. And the tool of thinking is called the God's Purpose Toolbox. Now, I want you to notice at the bottom of this diagram that you see, you can see all of the different tools. So God's purpose has more than one tool, and I didn't know what to do, so I had to compile them into one tool called God's Purpose Toolbox. And there's some mighty tools in here. Here's the first one: the 5 contexts of purpose discovery. The context of your creation. We alluded to this yesterday. The context of your creation is God has given you a gift. And that gift is what you do at your absolute best with the least amount of effort to fulfill God's purpose and to bring a profit to God. Then there's the context of your calling. The context of your calling is an awesome concept. There are certain things that you got to learn about the context of your calling. The context of your clan has to do with your family clan. You were not just born through your parents. You were born through your parents because they have given you an uncanny ability to help you to discover what your purpose. And then the context of your career. The context of your career includes your education. It includes your jobs, your careers, your occupation, everything that you learn from them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then the context of your cross, ladies and gentlemen, is really that part of you that has to do with what do you do? What are you going to do to fulfill your purpose, to make a contribution to the dignity of humanity and the deity of divinity? And then there's the 5 signs of calling. Whatever your purpose is, you're good at it. It comes natural to you, as natural as breathing. You have a passion for doing it. I mean, you cannot help yourself. Someone says, then you have you love doing it. Someone says, what's the difference between the two? Passion is in spite of, Passion is because of, rather. Love doing it is in spite of. And then your calling is the only thing that gives you total fulfillment. That brings us to the next tool of thinking. It's called the 5 stations of your gift discovery. You got to, first of all, awaken your gift. Then you got to act to the calling of your gift. Your gift got a story. You literally have a story of your gift. And when you go back and understand it, and I'm going to show you that your gift has a story, then your gift has a domain. In other words, your gift is the career that you choose. And when you attach yourself to the career that you choose, then that career becomes your purpose. Then there's the 5 components of purpose problem solving. I did my whole doctoral thesis on these 5 components. Purpose thinking. You got to identify, problem thinking. You got to identify what the problem is. Past thinking. You got to know what the past thinking of what the problem was. Present thinking. You got to know what the present thinking of the past thinking of the promise thinking. Projected thinking. You got to know what the problem thinking was so you can know what the past thinking about the problem thinking, so you can know what the present current thinking is. Then you can do projective thinking, and that's when you turn it into purpose thinking. And then the last tool of thinking in this God's purpose toolbox is called the 5 types of purpose instrumental goals. Now, purpose instrumental goals are steps, states, and strategies toward the accomplishment of your lifelong purpose. You have to ask yourself these questions. And that's what I meant when I was talking about you got to know these things about yourself. What do you want to be in life? What do you want to do in life? What do you want to own in life? Do you want to own a house? What kind of house? How many bedrooms? Do you want to own a mansion? Do you want to own a business? Do you want to own? What do you want to own in life? You have to ask these questions. See, your soul is like a computer, a banking computer. What you put in it, it will come back. But if you don't program your soul with instrumental goals, you can't have it. Almost all of the instrumental goals that I have programmed my soul, I have achieved them. God has been gracious to me. He's blessed me with every one of them. And now I'm renewing my instrumental goals to see what else he wants me to do, what he wants me to be, what he wants me to own. And then what do you want to share? What do you want to share with somebody? And then what do you want to experience? When you understand these 5 tools of purpose discovery, these tools will help bless your entire life, ladies and gentlemen, and you will be able to live in God's purpose in your life. So next week, I'm going to begin talking about these tools of thinking in this one tool of thinking called God's Purpose Toolbox. And I say to you, we appreciate you so much. I encourage you to continue to come on. I think somebody asked some questions. I may take some questions here. Crystal Smith said, talk about she says here, let me see what she said. She says, can y'all see that? Talk about it. You can be, I'm trying to see it said, you can be all that stuff and still not understand the purpose God put on you on this earth. Amen, Brother Roach. You got that right, sister. It is so important for us to understand that. Here's another one. Crystal says something else. She says, you're going to have a closer relationship with God and yourself first before you can have a closer relationship with someone else. Do you know that there are people who are single, there's an epidemic that's going on, a negative epidemic going on with singles. A lot of singles can't really find anybody because most people are coming to the table with their old self-love. And so they're presenting their best foot forward in their old self-love. And you spend 5, 10 years working with somebody thinking you're going to marry them. And then you find out that you've been dating Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's important for us to understand that. Let me go further here. I'm just going to kind of respond to some questions that I see here. If I can see them here now. If you got a question, put it on. We got a few minutes here. I will respond to some questions about some of the things that we've talked about. It's important for us to understand that All of these things are involved when it comes to understanding what purpose is really all about. And I decided that I'm not going to just rush through this. I'm going to cover this. These 5 things here, ladies and gentlemen, that you see on the screen, these are the 5 tools in the purpose discovery box. And we'll talk about that in more detail. So without any further ado, let me begin to close this out today by saying we appreciate you being on the show today. And we want to always close with the core value of Jesus for this month. See, when we go to June, I'm going to be talking about the core value of new self-excellence. Oh my goodness, it is so many powerful principles there. But I'm going to take my time with this core value of new self-purpose. And so we're going to close right now with that core value. The purpose God had in mind when he created you for his good, which gives you the capacity to find purpose and good in everything in your life, even your problems, knowing that all things work together for good for them who love God and are called according to his purpose. Live with purpose and do it with passion. Amen. Let it be so.